Life opens up for you when you start to listen to yourself. The possibilities become wider and your direction becomes clearer. You know now where you're supposed to go, at least, you know? No one's saying it's easy. It's so hard. Oh my God. It's so hard to listen to yourself in a world that is constantly trying to get you to second guess yourself, to constantly trying to get you to think you have no power, you have no say, you don't know what's going on. There's so much behind the veil that you're not seeing, like there's like conspiracies and you don't know what's happening, and so it's like how are you going to trust yourself if you don't even know what's happening? Like the world wants you to not trust yourself, and which is exactly why it's so easy for us to consistently second guess ourselves. Like how many people do we know truly trust themselves and listens to themselves constantly and is so tapped in, so connected, so tapped in that they are never confused about anything. Life is confusing in general. Life is so confusing. It's very rare to meet someone who is not confused about their life and what's going on and why and how and everything. So it becomes like a skill. It becomes a skill that we need to work on constantly to trust ourselves, to listen to ourselves, and to like hear what it is that's important to listen to. Because it's like, it's very easy to be like, oh, I listen to myself because I listen to my thoughts. Like, girl, we are not our thoughts. Our thoughts are probably like the least interesting thing about people, honestly, is thoughts. Because it's very easy to think something. It's very easy to think something. It's very easy. Well, I think about these ethics. I think this. I think it's very easy to like have good morals and good ethics in thoughts. But that's why I say thoughts are like the least interesting thing. Like they can be interesting. And don't get me wrong, like I love an intellectual conversation. I love an intellectual conversation, intellectual debate. Look at my whole channel. I love to think. I genuinely I have no issue with thinking in general. But it's very easy to think. It's way harder to do. And a part of listening to ourselves specifically, because you can listen to someone and hear them and that doesn't mean that you agree, or that doesn't mean you're going to do what it is that they say. You can still listen to someone and not do what they say. But when we listen to ourselves, that's the part of like, how do we now listen to ourselves? It does not mean listening to our thoughts. It does not mean thinking that everything that we think or everything that we feel is end all be all, absolutely 100% correct direction to go in. No. In fact, quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. Listening to ourselves, thoughts is just one part of it. There's also our body. Our body is constantly giving us messages. Our body is constantly talking to us and telling us things. There's also our intuition of like having an intuitive understanding or an intuitive knowledge. And then there's also the earth, the environment around us, and listening to that, listening to the earth and the environment around us. I think that's probably the part that is the most difficult to tap into and listen to, because the earth is also constantly speaking to us. And if we really just listen so carefully and tap in, then all of our answers will be revealed to ourselves through the earth. That can mean wind, that can mean insects, bugs, that can mean plants, that can be trees, soil, animals, sky, sun, wind, everything. And that's the wind's confirmation for me. Thank you, wind. Never forget about you. There's and let's explore this concept deeper, because perhaps this will be the most difficult to really grasp, is how to listen to ourselves through the earth. For me, I have a specific relationship with the earth, which is a relationship that I've built. I have a specific relationship where I've come to realize and I've come to receive a lot of messages through the earth. For example, karma. I get a lot of my karma from the earth, from trees, from plants, things like this. Um, for example, like I'll think something, let's say I'll think something that's like not really a nice thought, or I'll be like overthinking something, and then I'll walk into a tree. And for me, that's like the earth telling me, oh, okay, like you're overthinking, or like you're what you're thinking about isn't right, or it's not the best use of your time overthinking or just like being mean in my head to somebody else. um that's like the earth telling me like, hey, like don't do that. And it'll happen. Even sometimes I'll trip over myself. That's still the earth giving me a message, because I'm still tripping over like something, even if it's my own foot. Sometimes I'll be overthinking, and then I'll trip, and then I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm tripping myself up. That's the earth trying to tell me I'm tripping myself up. And it'll happen things like that too. Like sometimes, like this one time I was in a fight with a loved one, and then like there was like a lightning that hit so close to us, and it wasn't in the exact moment where we were fighting, but it was a little bit after. And I feel like I don't know exactly what that means necessarily, but I know that these things happening kind of at the same time has some kind of meaning. Sometimes we don't need to know what things mean. We can just know like that there's something there, you know? Sometimes like I'll say something or I'll think something, and then the wind will all of a sudden pick up, or the sun will come out of the clouds. And like I don't necessarily know what that means, but I know it means something. It's some kind of confirmation. Like the earth is confirming something to me. Or I'll have a really specific, like I'll say something that's like really specific and really it feels really pertinent, and then I'll see like 333. It's like 333 p.m. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's like the earth telling me that like whatever it is I'm saying or thinking is like really pertinent and like notable, because I look at the time and it's like an angel number." Or the angel numbers can also be the reverse of, like, let's say I'm like freaking out. I'm like overwhelmed, freaking out, and then I also see an angel number at that moment. That's not necessarily saying like, "Oh, you're on the good track, good job, like good job for freaking out." Sometimes it's like, "Hey, what you're freaking out over doesn't make any sense." Like angel numbers, everyone feels like angel numbers are like a positive, but they can also be a negative. They can also be a sign and trying to tell us like a warning sign. They can also be warning signs of like, hey, like what are you paying attention to right now? What is it that you're paying attention to? Our dreams are constantly telling us things of like, and it's not so much what happens in the dream. That's no, it's what happens isn't necessarily important. It's about how you feel in the dream. Let's say something's like weird's happening, and it's like it's not about what happens. It's about, how do you feel? Do you feel strangely calm? Do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel scared? Do you feel excited, exhilarated? It's about the feeling that comes up for us in the dream, gives us more information about like the underlying meaning of that dream, not necessarily like what specifically happens. It's about the feeling. And pay attention to those feelings, because it's happened to me so many times where I'll have the biggest anxiety nightmares, and sometimes they're not nightmares, sometimes they're dreams, but I'll have like such large anxiety dreams and I'll ignore them. And then whatever the anxiety dream was about will blow up in my face. It happened very recently. I was having so many anxiety dreams about this one situation, and I ignored the dreams. I ignored the dreams. And then the situation blew up in my face. And I was like, huh, interesting. I wonder if I listened. I wonder, but it's also not good to look back in time too much and whatever, but it's helpful to look back in time to like show us like, oh, where did I not listen to the universe that was clearly giving me some type of sign? And sometimes it's hard to listen to like, the woo woo ness of it all. Listen to yourself, your own intuition, of your own intuition. You have your own sixth sense of if something feels right or wrong, if something feels easy or uneasy, something feels natural or something feels weary, unsafe. Vibe is off. We have our own sixth sense. We know. We always have our sixth sense. So maybe it's like also good to sometimes look back, not in an attached way of like, oh, I want to change this, I want to do this, I want to do this, not in like a regretful way, but look back in like a, what are the big things that have happened in my life and how was I feeling right before? How was I feeling just right before those things happened? And maybe right before we're we're like lost in our la la land, like we're we're not really there. How was I feeling a month before? How was I feeling like just know, just pay attention. Know your own patterns, cuz for me, oftentimes when things bad happen, like right before the bad thing happens, I'm not really anticipating it at all. I'm not really thinking about it. I'm not anticipating it. But 2 weeks before, a month before is when usually I get a sense of something. And that's not to say you're feeling uneasy and some bad thing is going to happen to you in 2 weeks. No, because if you have that self-awareness and that relationship with yourself where like okay, I'm feeling uncomfortable in this situation right now, like I'm feeling uneasy, then you can actually listen to yourself and like, you know, approach with caution, tiptoe, approach with more carefulness, with more caution, or just with more awareness, with more intention. You know, look back so that you can start tracking those patterns, that pattern analysis, and then come back to the present moment of like, what do I have the power to do right now? Like, what is in my line of vision right now? What's in front of me right now? And always come back to that present moment, not in the past, not in the future. Just stay in the present moment of like, what am I feeling right now about this situation, about this person, about this relationship, about this like problem or thing or whatever, you know? So how do we actually end up listening to ourselves is by going slowly as well. Approaching things slowly. There's no need to rush ever. Like, oh my gosh, I feel like there's certain lessons you just keep learning over and over and over again. And this like slowness, like rushing lesson is definitely one that like I learned recently in such a huge way of like, there's really no need to rush. Going slow is actually best. Going slow is actually really, really best. Sometimes it's just really, really better to move slowly. Move slowly in love, in things you really care about, projects, plans. Girl, move slowly. It's better. It's better to move slowly, for sure. Because when you move fast, there's lots of room for error. When you move fast, it's like you're not really sure if you're being impulsive or not, because impulsivity is not like, it's not, you're not really like so present when you're being impulsive. You're looking for the next thing, the next adrenaline rush, the next hit of dopamine, you know? That's the impulsiveness that can get us into messy situations. That impulsiveness gets us into messy situations eventually and gets us to feeling like not so good in our relationships with others and ourselves. Spontaneity is beautiful. Spontaneity is flow state. Impulsiveness is like it's like moving with anxiety almost. And anxiety leads to error. Error, error, error. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just always going to be best to listen to ourselves, listen to our sixth sense. Listen to the earth, listen to the trees, listen to our dreams. And the world really will open up once you start listening to yourself, because there's also like two ways to listen to ourselves. There's listening to our hearts and then listening to our minds. And you can't really make choices with both. Sometimes they're saying the different thing. If your mind and your heart are saying the same thing, amazing. Go in that direction. But a lot of the time, our mind and our hearts speak and are saying different things, two different things, and it can be really frustrating. At least for me, I know it is for me, because I have a tendency to make certain decisions that I'm supposed to make with my mind, I make with my heart, and then certain decisions I'm supposed to make with my heart, I make with my mind. Happens to me a lot, where like someone will lie to me and I know that they're lying to me, but because I have a crush on them, I let it slide. And like that doesn't happen to me often because I don't have crushes often. I don't have crushes often. So when I do have a crush, I get a little bit dumb. I do. I do. I get a little bit dumb. And like someone will lie to me, and I know they're lying because I have really strong intuition, but I won't care because I'm listening to this freaking heart of mine. Isn't that so silly? And I have compassion to myself. I have compassion, but that's why it's good to practice. We have to practice, and we have to have the intellect to know, okay, this is a decision I should make with my heart. This is a decision I should make with my mind. When things are really complicated, like when there's feelings involved, there's people involved, and things are really complicated, it's better to work with your mind. It's better to work with your mind. If everyone else is in their hearts, which is great, everyone's in their hearts, it's better for us to be in our mind, because we can see. We have the gift that we can see that everyone is in their hearts. And so everyone's in their hearts right now. Let me be in my mind. And then same with vice versa, when everyone's in their mind, like maybe when we're in an organization and there's a big decision and it's like a meeting and everyone's in their mind, everyone's using their intellect, then it's best that, because we have the gift of seeing, then we go in our hearts. For me, it's like it's easier to kind of look at things in that way, you know? Where is everyone else? Is this person in their head or their heart? Okay, now where should I be? And then sometimes it's like we're alone in our decisions, we're alone in our actions, and there's no one else to look at or outsource like our understanding of the situation to. We can only be in our understanding of the situation with ourselves. Okay, so let's say there's something I that needs to happen, that I'm alone in this decision. Okay, how do I know whether to be in my head or my heart? Good question, Flora. Let me think for a second. Mm, what part of us is overactive right now? What part of us is like working a lot right now? Are we already in our heads so much that we're overthinking every little word, every little gesture, every little facial movement, every little thing? Are we overthinking things so much we're like being so precise? That's our head working. So then we should probably move into our heart and make the decision with our heart. And same vice versa. Is our heart doing all this labor, all this work, all this feeling, all this like heaviness, emotion, or our heart is our heart is working overtime, or our heart is feeling so much, it's so like overwhelmed. Okay, then we should probably make the decision with our head. You know, that's how we get a sense, a judgment of like, okay, how do we do this, you know? And it's hard, and I'm practicing. Honestly, making this video for myself because it's been very hard for me to I just have a big tendency of like making decisions um based on like what is the loudest. But when we make a decision based solely off of like what is feeling really loud and overwhelming, we're probably missing some nuance. We're probably missing something. We probably have a blind spot, you know, because if we're feeling so much in this direction, we're feeling so much in this direction, so much is happening, we're missing our blind spot. We're not even looking over there, you know? And so listening to ourselves is not just like paying attention to what's the loudest, it's also paying attention to what's the quietest. Because most of the time what's the quietest is what's in our blind spot and what's actually very pertinent, important information for us to in order to make that decision. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, once we learn to really listen to ourselves, like, I'm assuming life gets easier at that point. I'm assuming things get easier at that point. Yeah. So yeah, let me know. I'll let you know too. I'll keep each other updated. Okay. Mwah. Love you. Peace and light.